Good evening, and welcome to Bring It to the Table on a Friday night. I pray all is well with you and that you have had a great weekend. A great week. I'm rushing it. But as I always say on a Friday, get to the table with a glass of wine, milk, juice, water, whatever your taste buds call for, and enjoy the evening. As I said, I pray that you've had a great week. And this is Friday, and we're getting ready for the weekend. So, whatever plans you have, enjoy with family and friends. And remember to mask up. I am going to give you the request line right now to be able to call in if you choose to. But I do understand because a lot of you have texted me and say, you know what, we just enjoy listening and we hate to miss something. But if you choose to, the request line is 310-910-9676, extension 1. As you know, October month is Cancer Month, breast cancer, I should say. But for me, cancer has no particular month. Someone you know or someone has been diagnosed with cancer every day. We may know a family member or a friend, or we may not. But you can rest assured that cancer has stricken somebody somewhere all over the world. So it's not just October, but they choose to recognize breast cancer in the month of October. But again, we're going to talk about it tonight. I have a guest with me that is exciting. She's excited about being here. She's excited about telling her journey, her story. And I'm always excited to hear one's journey through this big C, this cancer. Because we can all learn something from it. And I say that because if you know someone or you hear someone that's being diagnosed with it, you can refer back to listening to this podcast and say, you know what, I heard a testimony. Let me share it to give that person some strength and let them know that they can pull through as well. So tonight, as you know, it's only an hour, and an hour goes by so fast. And just as we're really getting into it, look like that clock says, okay, it's time to say goodnight. So we're going to get started with my guest tonight. And I always have a hard time pronouncing your name. Kwanda. That's a beautiful name, Kwanda, for a beautiful lady. And I am so glad that you're here with me tonight to share and to give your testimony and to talk about your journey with this big C. Now, my question to you is, I want you to be comfortable, relaxing. Just bring it all to the table. And what I want to know, how did you find out that you had breast cancer?
Boy, Gigi, first of all, just thank you so much for doing this, not just for inviting me, but for, having, sharing this platform and talking about breast cancer and any type of cancer, as you mentioned. So to answer your question, I had an issue in 2011, and I was going for regular screenings where I had in 2011 they found a mass, and I had a surgery. It turned out to be benign. They thought it was cancerous, and did the surgery and everything. But from there, I did screenings every 6 months. I would do my screenings.
Let me ask you something. What was the surgery for? What did they go in to do?
So that's a good question. So when they did the biopsy, it showed hyperplasia, which is precancer cells.
Okay.
So they had to remove it so it wouldn't go into like a stage 1 or stage 2.
Okay.
And so I had that in 2011, and from there, I would keep up with my every 6 months. I would go and get a mammogram done, and every so often I would have to go back and get an ultrasound done. and that would come back all clear, and I would, be given a clean bill of health and go home. And fast forward to the year of COVID, I was, really hesitant about going to get the mammogram.
Okay.
Because no one wanted to go into the hospital. And I'll tell you, my uncle had passed of COVID.
Sorry to hear that.
Amazing man who helped raise me had passed of COVID. And 3 weeks after that, my stepdad had passed of COVID. So our family was being hit with all these different, events that were
virus,
just
yeah.
It was horrible. So I wasn't trying to go into the hospital. Everybody was on high alert. Going into hospitals and getting checkups and things of that nature. So I ended up going, and they said that everything was clear. I had a mammogram. I went back because they called me back and said, we need to do an ultrasound. I went back and had the ultrasound done, and the radiologist came back and said that everything was fine, and then told me to come back 2022 for annual. Said that I did not have to come back for a 6 month, and said come back 2022 for your annual, and I was elated about that.
Sure.
And so
of course.
And soon after that, maybe a few weeks out, I started to notice a discharge, and basically blood on my shirt. I didn't know where it came from. I thought maybe it was my husband because it was on our pillowcase. And I was like, maybe he cut himself shaving, or, cut his head because he's, bald head.
He's
Maybe.
shaving, he does all. Yeah, of course.
Like he cut himself.
Yeah.
And that wasn't it. And I couldn't figure out where it was coming from because it wasn't visible. It was only when I would lay on the right side. And I'm a left side sleeper.
Okay.
So I finally figured out, this is where it's coming from. It was coming from my nipple area. Right away, I went to the doctor. And I want to stress that it's so important to, as a mother, and I have 5.
Yeah, you just shared that with
Yes.
me. Beautiful family. Yes.
And we're busy. So it's important to stop and take care of yourself. And because I realize that if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of your family.
That's so true.
And so I went ahead and went, and my doctor examined me, and right away he determined that this is something that a surgeon needs to look at. And that began the journey.
What was your thought after going through what you went through and then told to come back in 2022? Now this, what was your thought when he said this is something that the surgeon have to look at?
Even then, I didn't go into panic mode. I didn't think cancer was the furthest thing from my mind. It never even entered into my mind. So I ended up going to see the breast specialist, and even she did not think that it was cancer because I had that blood coming from the nipple, and cancer doesn't necessarily bleed.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And what happened after they did the biopsy and did the MRI, she called me and said that it was cancer. And she said that symptom was my saving grace, because had I not had that symptom, then I would have just waited until 2022 and went and had the mammogram. It would have been a whole different story.
I wonder, how did they miss that?
Yes. I asked that question because I went religiously like I was supposed to. And what it was determined that I had fibrocystic breast, the really dense breast tissue. and the mammogram is not sensitive enough to pick it up. Now, here's the thing, and this is how I know that there's a purpose in this journey. So when I went back for the ultrasound, they just looked at the left side and didn't look at the right side
Wow.
because the left side was the side of concern, and they never looked at the right side. And that's where the cancer was,
On the right side.
on the right side.
You know, I have fibroids of breast as
Mhm.
well. And ever since I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why they did a mammogram at that time or whatever, but there was always a little white spot that they
Uh-huh.
would see. And my doctor at that time says, well, we're going to wait and see what happens. So the next year when I went, that same spot was right there.
Mm-hmm.
So what my doctor would have the radiologist do is to put the film up and look at it, each one, every year,
Mm-hmm.
to see if there have been any change. And today, there has not been no change. And when I go and have a mammogram, I tell them, I say, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you what you're going to find. And they want to hold me. And I says, just get the film. You can if you can go in the archives all the way back to when I was 18 years old
Mm-hmm.
to now,
Right.
to this age that I am now, and look at it. It has not. But what we do now, not only just having the mammogram, I have the ultrasound as well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because one may not detect, the other one may pick it up.
Absolutely.
So I have them to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And like right now, I'm a little disturbed because I'm supposed to have my mammogram. I was supposed to have it 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
They called because for some reason the person is out ill.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's scheduled me until December.
Mm-hmm.
But see, what she don't know, I'm getting ready to call my primary doctor
Mm-hmm.
and tell him, make appointment somewhere for me to go get him. I'm not going to wait
Right.
until, although things has been going great, but I don't want to wait
Mm-hmm. Right.
because waiting is very important.
It is. It is.
See, and for you to go through what you went through,
Mm-hmm.
and it was looking at one side, but it was on the other side. So what did they do?
So once I got the phone call, that was February 3rd. I got that phone call, and she said it is cancer. And I never knew that there were so many different types of breast cancer. I just, only knew about a breast cancer.
Right.
And mind you, I had an aunt on my father's side who had passed of breast cancer some years ago, like in 2000.
He had breast cancer.
My aunt, my dad's sister,
Okay.
and I was there for her that whole entire time, and so that event with her, it just kind of resonated with me, and that first day was really hard. Being transparent, I just didn't know if I was going to be here. That was a thought,
Right.
like, what's going to happen to my husband? What's going to happen to my children?
Yes, of course. Of
And
course.
what's going to happen to my parents? Because
Right.
they really love me.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And, my family and friends, I started thinking about all these people. And I'll tell you how I got myself together. Well, God got me together.
Yes.
I was home, and I was in my room alone, and I was crying. And my daughter, she came in the room, and she just kind of comforted me.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, and I saw that I can't do this in front of my children.
Mm-hmm.
But still, those emotions were there.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and played golf. She's a golfer, so she went and played golf. And then I was doing okay later on that day. I was, my spirits was up, and I had gotten into my word and started reading my Bible and started praying. And so I was okay. And little did I know how that impacted her. She came home that evening and she went upstairs and she just fell into my husband's arms and just cried. And I knew from that point I have to demonstrate the faith
Yes.
that this cancer is nothing for the Lord.
That's right. That's right.
And so from that point on, really, that was a tough day. From that point on, I just really had to grab hold to my faith and really started thinking positive and, and educating myself. That's
Sure.
important.
Yes.
So I was diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. It's an aggressive breast cancer.
Wow.
Yes.
The negative is what I'm saying wow on.
Yeah.
So
So I couldn't be treated with any hormones or anything like that. And it was an aggressive breast cancer, and the mass was 6.5 centimeters, so it was inoperable. So I had to go through the chemo first
oh.
to get to, so they could shrink it, so they could operate on it.
So now how long did you have to go through chemo?
So I had 16 weeks of chemo. The first 4 treatments were like every other week. And if anybody is familiar with taking chemo, they call it the Red Devil chemo, Edramycin. I think that's the name of it. I had 4 treatments of that, and then 12 treatments of Taxol, weekly treatments.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a lot of chemo.
Did you get sick with any of it?
Not at all. The first day, just like a little kind of, I don't know, just maybe a little, just a little bit, but nothing significant. And what's amazing is my family, my husband especially, laughs about that because he said, if anybody's going to get sick off of anything, food or something like that, if the food is not right, it's me.
Let me let my listeners know her husband is in the studio with us tonight, and I'm going to ask him a question.
Yes.
I know you're sitting over there on the other side, but how did you deal with this when she was told and when you found out that your wife had breast cancer?
Not too well. I was devastated by the news. It just shook our whole family. And so it was a point when I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know how to feel. I just didn't know how to deal with something that you hear about from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea how to deal with it.
Now, I should have had you on the mic. Yeah, I want to put him on the mic because I have a question I want to ask you. I want to put you on the mic. I do. Let me get my headphones. Can you come over here on the other end? Let me get my headphones because I have a question that I really want to ask you. Listeners, hold on a minute. Play a little music for me. this is just bring it to the table, and we just, I come off the cuff. And I'm glad that your husband is here, because my question to your husband is that when you were told, when your wife came home and told you that she had breast cancer, like you said, you didn't know what to do, how to react. Did you know, how long you and your wife been married?
27
Yeah,
years.
27 years. In the midst of that, did you know if you was going to stay or leave? Did it ever come across your mind? And I asked this question because I deal with a lot of people that have lost a limb. Their husbands have walked out because they couldn't deal with it. The boyfriends have said, oh no, I can't deal with that. That's the reason why I put you on the mic, because I want to hear from a man's standpoint of view. And you've been with your wife for 27 years. Tell me, did it ever come across your mind?
For me, it was not a thought. I took a vow, and when I gave my life to God, He just totally changed my life. So I was totally committed to my family and to my wife, and all of the negative things that surround our culture certainly played a part in me making sure I was there for my wife and my children.
That's a blessing. Now let me ask you this. And I heard you said because you're a believer.
Yes.
And you've given your life to Christ.
Yes.
We as Christians and we as believers do things a lot different because we stand on the word. We stand on God's word. But those non-believers that don't stand on his word, do you think if you was a non-believer, would you have to stay?
Probably not. I probably not. I probably would have been gone. Maybe. I really can't say because it's a hypothetical question for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it would certainly be really hard to deal with, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because I say that and I ask that question because we as human beings look at the outer beauty of an individual versus then looking at the inward, because it's really on the inside. The beauty is on the inside. It's not always on the outside. So we as women, even when we lose a breast or lose a limb, we clam up into a box because now we don't think we're pretty. We don't think we're attractive to that outside world. And we don't think we're attracted to that person, whether it be a spouse, a significant other, or just somebody that we. So that's the reason why I asked that question. Now, I'm going to turn it back around on you. Did you ever think that your husband had that in the back of his mind or the front of his mind to leave you, or did you feel as though because you was not that, you didn't have that breast, you wasn't that pretty anymore, did that ever come across your mind?
Well, you asked the question to him, and I think we would have never even got to this point had we not even had the Lord in our lives, because every relationship has its challenges and you have to develop. But I didn't think for a moment, because in all 27 years, as bad as I got on his nerves and as bad as he's gotten on mine, and we didn't see eye to eye, love was never lost. And he's always been there with me. Everywhere I go, he goes. Everywhere he goes, I go. When you have a husband that will stay in the mall with you, now some will go in there and they'll find somewhere to sit, but he actually will go in the stores and
Shop with
shop with me, and bring me the sizes, how many sizes that I'm going through. He's there, and it was really tough for me because it was during this pandemic and you had to go alone. And so I know it was hard on him too, because he had to drop me off and then leave, even during the surgeries. I've had 2 surgeries before this even happened, and he was there. And to not see his face before and after, the last face I see, it was really, really hard because he's always there.
Did you ever think you were not pretty enough? after you had this? Now, did you have to lose both? Did you have to lose your breast?
No, I actually, so going back to my story, when I met with the surgeon, she, you have to go through genetics testing and all that. And I had no gene mutation for any type of cancer, for breast cancer, liver cancer, any kind of cancer you can get. I didn't have a gene for it.
Right.
And so their original plan was to do a double mastectomy. But I did not accept that. I didn't accept it.
Why you didn't accept it?
Because of my faith.
Okay.
Yeah. I just, I was just like, no, I'm not going to accept what you're saying, that I had to have this done. And it turned out that I didn't have to have either. I turned out I didn't have to have a double mastectomy. I went through the chemo, and I'm gonna tell you, Gigi, before I even finished the chemo and they did an MRI, it showed what they call a complete resolution, meaning that there was no cancer, and the cancer had moved into my lymph node, and so there was no cancer in the breast or the lymph nodes, and that was before the 12 treatments were over.
Wow. We have a caller? We have a caller?
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Hello,
Hello?
How are you? Hello, can you
Caller?
hear me? This is Mary Connor. How you doing, Gigi?
Oh, I'm sorry. Caller, I had my mic down. Who am I speaking with?
This is Mary Connor.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just
Good.
had to call and let my dear friend Quanda, know that I'm listening to her, and I'm so proud and I'm so happy that she's doing well. And I just wanted to share that this evening with her.
Go ahead on and talk to her. This is Mary on the line. Talk to her.
Hi, Mary. So I was this viewing audience. I'm on the line with my good friend Mary Connor. Now, Mary came to me and told me about when she got diagnosed, and I was able to go to her and tell her when I got diagnosed. And I'm gonna tell you, Mary is she's a wealth of knowledge, and this brings me to this point. You got to be careful who you talk to.
That's so true.
When you're going through things. And Mary, I talked to two people. I talked to Mary Connor, who had this experience, and Tanisha Sims, and those ladies were so encouraging. Mary gave me a wealth of information and a huge basket of goodies,
Good.
specifically for breast cancer patients. And Tanisha Sims, blew me out the water with prayer. And both of them just text me, all the time. How you doing? How you doing?
Yes.
Yes.
Mary, thank you so much for calling in. She's a beautiful woman, and as you said, you was listening. You see, I put her husband on the spot, huh?
Yes, I see that. Yeah, she don't go nowhere without him, and he don't go nowhere without her.
Yes,
so it's all right.
I'm finding that out. Yes, but I had to get it from a man's standpoint of view too. I just wanted to hear, because you hear
Okay,
these
very
things. So
good.
yeah, thank you so much for calling in, Mary, and you be blessed.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
You
Talk
too.
to you soon.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Yeah. But like I said, I had to get that from a man's standpoint of view because I have a foundation, and my foundation is for amputees.
Yes.
And that's because I'm one. And I lost my right leg to cancer. So with me having this foundation, and I see, and I have so many clients that have lost their loved ones.
Yeah.
Their loved ones have left them because of losing a limb. And that's the reason why it was so important for me to hear your husband and where he came from and how he felt. Go ahead.
I was going to say that for me, it wasn't about how she was, looking. It was just that it was a emotional roller coaster to go on.
Okay.
I mean, it was a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and it was just a real challenge in dealing with that whole cancer's a big thing.
Yes, it is.
And it's a big deal when it happens to you and your family.
Right.
You get to see it from a whole another perspective, and then when your children are involved as well, and your mom, her dad, and all the things that had occurred in during this pandemic in our families, it was really challenging for us. So it was more about all the stuff I had to deal with, rather than how she looked or what they were talking about taking a total mastectomy.
Right.
My thought was, as long let them take what they need to take, as long as you're gonna be here.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
and you know, and I can only imagine because you're looking at her suffer, you're looking at her going through, and there's nothing you really can do but just really be there, and I'm glad you said that because a couple of weeks ago I had a young man on, and he had prostate cancer, and one of the things he said to the listeners out there, he says it's not about being able to have that sexual relation, that sexual intimacy during that time. He said because one thing about it, if you're going to make that the big thing, you can leave away from here and still not have it. Take care of yourself, because then you can get it when they get better. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Or get another wife.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that was not one of your main concerns. It's
He
about-
was a big support. I mean, he even shaved my head.
What a blessing. You got a beautiful head of hair, too. Beautiful.
When I started losing my hair,
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's time to take this hair off. And he went and brought brand new clippers.
I love it. Hold on. I think we have another caller. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, he brought a whole set of clippers and cut my hair.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that was actually recommended because the whole thing is to keep the cancer patient in a positive mode. And so the thinking behind that, the philosophy behind that is if you cut it off before it falls off, you'll be
Is that a
in
call?
better shape.
Really, hold on. And I'm going to comment on that, too. We have another caller.
Leave away from me and still not
Hello, hello, caller.
Yes,
Hi, who am I
yes.
speaking with?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Sister Pam, and I'm a friend of Sister Kwanda at church.
Praise the Lord. You have another call. You have another friend. Go ahead, Kwanda.
Hi, Pam. How you doing? That's
Hi.
Minister Pam.
Minister Pam.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know what a blessing and an inspiration you've been, not just for my life personally, but for the entire congregation, and just how much we just love you and how you've kept us on our knees, and you've just been such an inspiration, and we love you so much. I do have a question for you, though.
Yes, ma'am.
As you know, my mom, she had cancer, and she was diagnosed when she was in stage 4. They gave her like 90 days to live, but by God's grace, she lived another 5 years. But she found her own cancer. She did self-checking, and I just wanted to know if you had any information about self-checking for women.
Absolutely. Pam asked the question about self-checking, and they have all kind of information out where you can do self-checks. And a lot of times, I would say in my situation, I wouldn't have never found it because it was so deep into the milk ducts. And like I said, going to getting my regular mammograms, going every 6 months, getting a mammogram and even ultrasounds, none of those avenues were sensitive enough to pick up the mass. And so it wasn't until it was, like I said, had the symptom of blood coming from my nipple that I knew that something was wrong. But definitely self-checks you start there. Always check yourself. It's important for us as women to know our bodies. We have to know when something's off. And then don't take, if your doctor says, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, and you know your body, you can request a test or speak to another doctor. Don't just, take their word for it and you feel like something's really off, ask them to, to run some blood tests. It's not going to hurt anything to, run extra tests because you have this complaint. So yeah, you have to make your complaint known.
That's right.
So that they can move on it. But definitely do your checking yourself. And in the shower is a good time to check it. Check when your skin is wet, not when it's dry. That's a good time to check yourself.
Praise God.
Well, I love how you said just don't take no for an answer. I love that.
Yes.
So thank you, and you're a blessing to all of us, and we love you.
Thank you for calling in, Minister Pam.
Thank you.
Have
Good night.
Good night. Now, as you were saying about cutting the hair, when I was diagnosed with the cancer, and I had to take the chemo, my doctor says, well, you're probably going to lose your hair. And I said, okay. So I went home, called the barbershop, and went ahead and cut, because I did not want to wake up and hair all in my face. I didn't want to be combing my hair, brushing my hair, and then I see all this hair coming out. I think I would have been more devastated then than any other time. So I just went on and cut it off.
For me, I've always cut my hair. I always had long hair, but I always liked short hair. But for me, it was, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but I had my hair braided, and I went to scratch my head, and a whole braid lifted up off, and I just cracked up. And I say that because that's just who I am. That's my personality. I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh.
Sure.
So when that happened,
it was comical. You just laughed.
I went straight to my scalp. I said, oh my goodness, it was just funny to me, comical to me, and then of course taking control of that. So I agree, like my husband said, take control of that, because like you said, you don't want to.
I didn't want to do that.
You don't want to wake up and your hair's on the pillow. It's already enough that you're going through this.
Right, I didn't know.
And then to wake up and your hair's on the pillow, then that that could be devastating.
Now, I hear you say you have 5 children.
Yes.
How did your boys, when you talked to, you already explained about your daughter. How did you talk to your boys, or did you let your husband talk? Did you and your husband talk to the boys together? How did you do that?
That's something that we do all the time. Is we sit down at the table for dinner all the time.
You bring it to the table. Huh?
Yes, we bring it to the table. And so talking to them about this was it was something that they were accustomed to, not, oh, mom is sick, but just issues that we have to discuss. And we just educated them on it. And my boys are a lot like their dad. They're very loving, very helpful. And so they knew that they had to pick up the slack.
Let me ask your husband, do you think that your boys paid close attention to your reaction and close attention to how you handled the situation to make them handle it the same way that you did?
Oh, no doubt. My boys are, and I think any man's boys, sons, are going to imitate their father, whether they like it or not. They always make fun of me as to, different things that I do. My kids always mimic me and copy me. But yes, it was very hard for them. It showed up in their schoolwork eventually. I mean, they tried to handle it as well as they could, but there was no doubt that they were being affected by this in a way that was silent. Even though we would sit at the dinner table and have these conversations about what our next steps are, what we're dealing with, just having faith in God and believing God. And that was the one of the most difficult things, is trying to establish faith at the table with my young children or my kids. So I think that was a challenge in itself. And so but they eventually as we went through the process and continually to talk to my family. I think they came to a great understanding, and they had to hop on the faith boat too.
That's
So we were all on this faith boat.
It was on that
this
faith walk.
journey.
Yes,
and
yes.
we're all on it together. I mean, we really had no choice.
Yes,
We
yes.
had no choice but to stand on the Word of God and believe and have faith in what He could do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always bring up this. I watched a movie one time with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J.
Oh, yes.
And it
yes.
was called The Last Holiday.
Holiday. Yes, I've
And
seen
in
it.
that movie, they had a book called The Possibility Book. She had that
She
book.
had, yes.
But she took that book and threw it in the trash,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because she felt like everything that her dreams were all gone. But when you are a Christian and you love the Lord, you got to pick up your possibilities. You got to pick up that Bible.
You do. You do. You have
And
to
you
stand.
have to stand on the Word
You
of
have to
God.
stand on the Word.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it worked.
Oh, yeah. His word
It
always
worked.
worked. His
Yes.
word always
It
worked.
worked.
Yeah, hold on one second. I want to send a shout out to my sister here. And I did respond, and I hope she saw it on Facebook. I want to wish my sister in Christ happy anniversary, Alice and Sam. Girl, you just keep on hanging in there. You all, I love you both. Again, happy anniversary. Also, I want to say to Lehman Scott. Earlier, as you know, there's a song that called Her Mystical Journey. And the song was written for me for this podcast. And I just want to always keep him on the front burner and say, Lehman, thank you so much. He's just a marvelous producer, writer. And if it's anything that you are working on and you decide you want some music to be put to it, I'm going to tell you, he's the man. He's the one that can put it together for you, and you would be, I know without a doubt, you would be very, 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 very happy. And so I just want to send a shout out to Lehman Scott. And also, I want to send a shout out to, but let me tell you how to get to Lehman if you want to. It's called Less Word Music. And I'm going to spell it for you because he spells it a little bit different. It's LESWORMUSIK production.com. Check Lehman Scott out. Lehman, thank you, darling. I haven't talked to you in a minute, but thank you. And I know you sitting behind that piano and you're writing up some songs. So keep on keeping on. And also, I want to send a shout out to someone that's dear to me. And he is on target when it comes to talking about detailing your cars. You need to check him out. You need to call Exclusive Auto Touch, and have Mr. Gamble come out and put a shine on that car. And if you want to check him out, go to his website, and it's EATDETAILING.com. Check him out. I mean, he's amazing. He's licensed and certified. And yes, you can become licensed and certified in this. Everybody that you see out there with a bucket doesn't mean that they're licensed and certified, but he is. Check him out, and you would not be dissatisfied. Also, let me mention to you once again about J. Lynn All-American Amputee Foundation. As you know, that's my foundation. I help amputees become back active into life. A lot of them can't get a prosthetic. I try to help them get one because, as you know, insurance doesn't pay for everything. They look at it as being cosmetic surgery. Would you believe cosmetic surgery when a person needs a prosthetic to be able to walk? So I'm asking you, my listeners out there, why don't you be their arms, their legs, by donating, to the foundation so that I can help them get acclimated back into life. And it's something being without a limb, and a lot of times you see those people in wheelchairs rolling down the street, and you look at them and you wonder why they don't have any prosthetics. It's because they can't afford it. And I'm just reaching out to you to give me a donation, because it's not for me to spend, but it's for me to help them. And that's what I want to do. Prosthetics are very expensive. So Go to JLYN, All American Amputee Foundation.org. That's JLYNAAA Foundation.org. And check it out. And you'll see everything that I do to help those that are trying to get back and having an arm, a prosthetic arm, or prosthetic leg. Help me out, help them. All right, God bless you. Thank you. All right, I just needed to put that shout in right quick.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah,
Absolutely.
yes. So as you were saying, your husband was saying, let me ask you this. Did you and your boys at any time have a talk, just you and your boys, about this?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And did they come to you with questions, or did you just say, you know what, come on, fellas, let's just go take a ride, or let's just go upstairs, or let's just kick back for a minute, and Dad have some things we just want to talk about, or you just have something you want to get off your chest, let's talk about it.
Yes, I pulled them to the side and had a conversation with them about the different phases and things that their mom would have to go through, and so what to expect, what to look for, how to believe God anyways. I mean, because it was, we talk in January, so we're 10 months now into this thing, and she's still not done. She still has to do
Radiation.
radiation.
Yeah.
So that's going to be starting as well, even though the cancer is totally gone.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no trace of cancer. Once they did the surgery, they removed nothing from her.
Well, let me ask you this. So they feel you still need to have the radiation?
Yes. So the radiation, and I asked the same question, and they explained that radiation sterilizes the area, and it keeps the cancer from returning, and just that's part of the whole plan.
'Cause it burns. It
Yes.
burns the cells. Because I've had
Yes.
radiation, so
Mhm.
it burns those cells.
Yes.
And not only burns the bad cells, but it burns the good cells
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So you're losing. It's a double thing here because
Yes.
you're losing on
Yes.
both ends. Mm-hmm.
And I've been told that the difference between the radiation and the chemo is that the radiation just deals with that site, whereas the chemo goes throughout your whole body.
Right.
I had the nails turn black, the toenails turn black
On the
Yeah.
radiation.
on the chemo.
On the chemo.
Yes,
Really.
yeah, like
Okay.
losing toenails get loose. Yeah,
Okay.
the sores in the mouth and
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. But you know what? And I have to say this: people go through things in silence. They suffer in silence, and I'm not. I remember when I was a little girl and they would talk about cancer, and it was like, shh, don't tell anybody. And that was not my thing. I told my community, I have a community, and I have to say this because it's so inspiring, and it could inspire someone else. Don't go through this
By yourself.
Don't go through anything by yourself. Know who you can count on. Know who's going to be there for you. I have my son plays. My youngest son plays baseball, so I have a group of baseball moms, and they don't look like me, any of them.
Yeah, I can believe it. I can believe it. It's something you said. You have to be careful who you talk to
Yes.
and who you share it
Yes.
with, because everybody don't mean you well.
Right.
So you have to go to the Lord and ask the Lord to show you
Yes.
who you are supposed to talk to,
Right.
that you're supposed to share this with.
Mm-hmm.
And when He gives it to you, then that community,
Yes. Yes.
you know what community to go in.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with family.
Mm-hmm.
You can only share so much with family members,
Yes.
because family members don't all mean you any good.
Right.
So you have to be able to have that discernment to know, okay, Lord, yeah, this is who you want me to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's a double whammy, because He has to also give it to your husband.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing was that my family had gone through all these things with people dying in our family, so I didn't want to put that burden on them. So I had these women, amazing women, cook for me, cook for it's 7 of us in my house, cook for us weekly, brought me flowers, took me to appointments, and things of that nature. So you do have to have a
Yeah.
support system.
You do. You do.
And that gave me strength.
I know it did. I think your husband has something you wanted to say.
I was just going to say that it's so funny how so many little miracles were wrapped around this huge miracle that God
Yeah.
performed in her body, and this community of women that wrapped themselves around her, they initiated it. You know what I mean?
That's a
It was just a
blessing.
beautiful thing, and most of these women do not have the kind of relationship that we have with the Lord. And so she began to do a
work
This is-
within them.
yeah.
Praying for
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
So it was a wonderful thing. God just done so many wonderful things in this journey.
You know, the Lord knows who to put
Yeah.
what on, because he knows those group of women over there needed to know who he is.
Yes.
And so he said, okay, now I need to take one of my children. I need to put this on my child. So if I put this C on my child, this cancer on my child, she is going to be able to go pull some other folks
Yes.
and bring them into the fold and
Yes.
let them know who I am.
Yes.
Because they're over there going to go through something.
Yes.
And when they go through it, now they know how to lean and depend on me. Because if you had not been able to go through it and been able to pray with them, when they go through theirs, they wouldn't know what to do. Oh,
Absolutely.
Lord, have mercy.
Absolutely.
Oh!
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I just love
Yes.
it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm asking the Lord right now to open up a door for me to be able to go ahead on in and talk to those that are getting ready to go into surgery that's losing a limb. Send me there, because they don't know you. And I want to be able to tell them all about you.
Yes.
You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? So
Yes.
he's just blessed you. That's all.
He really has.
And I'm going to say this because it's almost time. And I look at someone that's dear to me because he coached my son, Magic Johnson. I look at Magic. See, the Lord put that heavy burden on Magic because he knew Magic was going to tell it. He was going to tell it. He was going to tell it. He wasn't going to keep it to himself.
Yes.
So just like you, he knew you was going to tell it.
Yeah. And
Just
I
like
say,
me,
I
he knew I
say
was gonna
that.
tell it.
I say
Yeah.
that. I thank God for trusting me.
Trusting me, that's
with
it.
this.
Yeah, I you know what? I thank him for trusting me with losing the limb.
Yes.
And I had my family, my friends say, they cried when they came to the hospital to see me. I said, what y'all crying from? I'm the one that lost the leg. What y'all? But they looked at my career because I was a professional dancer.
Yes.
So they looked at my career. I traveled the world with the greatest entertainer in the world, Sammy Davis Jr., for 10 years. So they were my friends, and they were looking at that. But I said, oh, come on now. He knew what to do.
Right.
He knew what to do. So
Right.
he knew what to do when he came to you.
Absolutely.
He knew you was gonna tell it.
Absolutely.
And he gave you a helpmate over there, that's gonna lock arms, that was not gonna leave you during the time of that.
Yes.
He did.
Yes.
Yes, this has been great.
Yes, it
And
has.
I'm sorry I just brought your husband on in, and yeah.
He thought he was going to get out of this one.
No. Well, it's been a pleasure, and you can come back anytime if it's more you want to. You know what? After you finish going through your radiation, I want you to come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want you to come back and share that.
Okay.
Because you're going to go through something. I want you to be able to come back and share that.
I'd love to.
Would you?
I'd
All
love
right.
to,
Thank you
yes.
so much. Well, as I always say on a Friday night, peace, one love.